Detours. Brought to you by Sports and Spokes, the magazine for wheelchair sports and recreation. So you guys, Craig, very first thing right off the top, you give me a call and you say, hey, Scott Hollonbeck's got this camp and it's going to be outside and there's going to be a lot of great fun activities. And what do you think about maybe, doing a little story on this? And I thought, that sounds pretty interesting. I mean, I've got two of the legends of wheelchair racing here, and you guys are, as we've moved up in age a little bit, we're starting to give back. So first of all, what was the camp like? You call it Hollow Wilderness Education Center, Scott, and you've been running this for a little while. So tell us a little bit about it and, what it means to you.
Sure. It's a Legend Hollow Wilderness Education Center.
Got it.
And that was the name of the road it's on, so we just went with that. What does it mean to me? And a little bit about what we do. Well, let's start out with a little bit about what we do. So we create environments and have a space for people to have an event, or that we host groups as well. And we just get them out into nature. We are up 3 miles from the nearest paved road on a rickety road that we built, which hangs off the edge of a mountain. So like the minute you start driving up, you're like, I'm getting nervous. And we like that.
Are we lost? That's what I thought the first time. Am I lost? Were you looking for the closest hospital?
And I'm telling you, it's just under 3 miles. It feels like 6. And there's points where, you can't turn around. And so all those little things start going off. Like, what am I doing? And then, of course, once you get into the forest, which has already happened, your blood pressure starts to drop. I mean, it's a biological reality that trees emit pheromones that the minute we're in a place like that, our blood pressure starts to come down a bit. And so, as we like to say, like, we don't really do much. The mountain and nature does a lot of it. And so there's trail walking, there's a lot of foraging that goes on. We've had birthday parties, we've had a funeral. I mean, we're kind of like, what do you want to do? And what level do you want to be hosted? Do you want full on glam experience? Or do you want to go and do a 10-day vision fast where we just kind of peek at you with binoculars to make sure you haven't gone crazy? So it's kind of like that. We do adaptive.
I won't touch that. I'll
a lot of adaptive things. So we do adaptive turkey hunts, and so our motto is age 0 to 120.
Yeah,
we haven't got we've had a couple 90-year-olders, but we haven't hit 100 plus yet. But
you got time. Hey, Scott, let me jump in really quick because Craig, what was the draw for you? I know that you've been involved with Bart Bardwell's camp, the Ironwood Springs Christian Camp, and Scott, you as well. And we're going to address that in a minute. But what was the draw here when Scott gives you a call? Hey, man, I got this thing going on. What was your interest in? And ultimately, after you were up there, what were your takeaways?
Yeah, that's great. So, Scott and Raphael specifically,
Raphael
Bar. Yeah, Raphael and I used to be like roommates at every race and a sort of team. We kind of raced together and trained together. Scott was from the Illinois camp. Mm-hmm. He was the competition. I was going to say enemy. We'll just say competition, right? And so, But Scott would show up at Wheelchair Sports Camp, and then Rafi was there, and so we were kind of commingling. Anyway, we had one time where Rafi just kind of said, "Hey, Scott, you should really reconsider friendship with Craig. He's a good guy." And he told me the same thing. And so I said, "All right." And so Scott and I met out in front of the lodge, and we talked for like 2.5 hours. And Scott became, a friend. He moved to the good side, and from then on, it's been this delightful friendship. And so so fast forward to earlier this year, and Scott goes, "I'm doing this thing. I got some property out in, Northwest Georgia, 1,200 acres. And I'm going to do this thing where we get a group of us guys together to go and do this thing. And I said, okay, sounds interesting. And so I went to the first event. There was, quite a few guys. And the neat thing about it is we could just show up because Scott took care of the adaptive equipment from an amazing organization called Catalyst. So we could just show up and have our helmet and a pair of gloves, and then we could go riding. It was such an impact on me, the riding. So he calls me and he says, hey, we're doing it again. Let's do it in November. And I'm like, okay, I'm listening. And he's like, I talked to my wife, and my wife said, well, it's my son's 30th birthday, Alexander, my youngest boy. And she goes, why don't you bring Alexander? That'd be great for you guys. And I'm like, I call him and he goes, Dad, I'm in. And
Wow.
I'm like, a week with my son camping with these adaptive bikes, and Alexander's been to camp. So he knows Scott, he knows Rafi, he knows about it. So it was like, he just said, let's come out and do this thing. And it's pretty amazing. I'll just say that. It's fantastic. And the experience he had with the rest of the campers, and what I loved, one of the neat things I loved about it is Scott, I love playing with my adult friends, right?
Uh-huh.
And I would go, Scott, you want to ride again today? He's like, yep. Okay. Should we get the rest of them? Yeah. Okay, let's go. And sometimes we'd ride 2 or 3 times in a day and just out playing with this amazing technology in this vast playground. And it's just so fun.
Hey guys, and I watched the video, one of them anyway, of I think it was the camp last year, and I just want to sort of address the discomfort of being outside to a degree. I saw you have a couple legends up there. You had Chris Waddell up there, Rafael Ibarra, Paralympian, Krieg Shabor,
Aaron Korb,
hard
Korb,
hitters, and they come up there, and we, as people who use wheelchairs, are very used to comfort. We special beds and special showers and special everything to make our lives a little bit easier. So do you think that there's something growing and cathartic about being in an environment where maybe you're not so safe?
Yeah. And I think you asked, why do we do it? Because because when I got paralyzed, I had grown up doing a lot of the camping and the hiking and all things outdoors, and it's tricky. Like, it's hard. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, historically had been, but it's so much fun. It's not that you don't want to do it. It's just like, is the juice worth the squeeze, right? And so we've worked a lot on that, where you can have this kind of an experience where you can roll out and get out there without having to crawl and fall and suffer.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's a little bit scary because you're out miles and miles from the nearest paved road,
right,
and you got to make good decisions.
Yes.
So I think people love it, and Craig nailed it. The other thing, so the idea is that you could just get in and go and roll out without all the drama and the extra, 50 people trying to logistically make things work. But Brent McMahon was out, who's a Canadian quad racer. You remember Brent?
Yeah, of course.
He got out there and he cried, Bob, because he hadn't been in the woods in 42 years.
See, that's pretty amazing.
And so when I started trying some of this, which I tried a lot of times and failed, it was very uncomfortable and wasn't pleasant. And then
he was there before the road was in.
Wouldn't it be great to have a place where you could enjoy this level of wilderness, but not have to suffer? Or if you want to suffer, you can still do that too. We'll take care of you.
Hey, Craig, if I'm not mistaken, when I was watching the portion of the video where you guys did the night ride, I think it was you sort of stating, are we of sound mind right now? It was spooky, man. This is not dark like by the city where you run into a street light here and there. This is dark, and you guys have more or less minor helmets on with as much light as you can get together. But did you when you were done with that, obviously, just like jumping out of an airplane, there's a fear factor, but when you get on the ground safely, you're happy. Was it the same sort of experience? You're out there in the woods, it's pitch black, anything could come out of the woods. What was it like? And what was the fear factor?
No, for sure. So this was kind of the first organized night ride that I've done, and definitely the first off-road night ride that I've done. And so we have most of us had helmet or lights.
Mhm.
Brad White didn't have a light, and he's his own little light. I guess I'll just say that about Brad. But we cruised out there and we're going through things. But one of the things that happens when you're riding in the day is, you're out on the road, you can see the road and all that, and then you can see the trees, and you kind of have a good spatial awareness. But
Exactly.
when you're out in the woods in this kind of darkness, where your flashlight ends, the world ends. And so you're like, there could be monsters right over there, but and you look and no, there's no monster there, but there might be one. So it's a little bit wild. And then you're also riding this bike, and so you're having to brake and go over logs and different things. But we cruise out, and it's just magical because we're not going nearly as fast, and it seems like there's this open space, and I don't know, it was really awesome. But we get to this one point, and we all stop at this T section in the woods. And Scott says, "Everybody turn off your lights." And I'm like,
Oh boy.
"Okay, all right." And he goes, "Look up." Oh man, I'm almost going to cry just thinking about it. We look up and there's the stars, and you can see them. And it's magical. It's like,
I'm getting
oh,
goosebumps remembering.
oh my goodness. And then he takes out this special flashlight and he shines it around, and these things start lighting up, this bioluminescence stuff on the trees and the different stuff out there. And it's quiet, we're not moving, and we just start to talk about what we're all, and it was just it was crazy cool. It was awesome.
You know what's interesting, boys, is you guys were two of the royalty of American wheelchair racing. You raced in front of crowds of tens of thousands in stadiums and people cheering you up and down hills, and sitting on top of the podium with people adoring you. And here you are now, you're talking, and we aren't even addressing those moments. We're talking about something that, yeah. So
We
what
got better things
happened
to
over
do now.
what happened over that time that you could replace all that cheering and all that adoration with what you're experiencing now? Because I genuinely hear the joy in your voice.
Yeah. I for me, I obviously we all love the competitive side of the
Indeed.
things we do.
There's a lot of that happens out there too.
Oh,
Super
really?
competitive, Bob.
Yeah.
First of all, so we're getting that check. But it was always like you got to catch the next flight, or you'd be in this amazing city, and then it's like I got to get back to training, and
Right.
oh, by the way, like the idea of spending time with like Raphael's son and Craig's son and Krieger's son coming out there and getting to do something like that. It's something that we didn't get to do when we were racing, like, too much. Like, it was, your foot is on the gas and you're going and going, and I think that's a big part of what we're doing out there is slowing things down a little bit and having that opportunity to be with friends and family and make new friends and do some really fun, exciting stuff.
We'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Sports and Spokes magazine. For nearly 50 years, they've produced stories on iconic athletes performing at the top of their game, given generational coverage of sports dating back to the 1970s, and they've shown the way with exciting and timeless magazine cover shots. To stay on top of all the latest news from the world of high-performance adaptive sports, go to sportsandspokes.com. Sports and Spokes, the magazine for wheelchair sports and recreation. Craig, same experience for you?
Yeah, it's, I guess early on in my life, that public adoration, I'll say real frankly, the reason why I was as good as I was is because I had to be.
Mm-hmm.
There was,
I get it.
There was something inside of me that was trying to measure up, and I needed it really bad. So I worked really hard, and I was really good. Okay. So then I mature in life, and that's not, it's not as big of a hole in me anymore. And now the competition is more like, I love racing. I
Mhm.
love competing, but I don't need it to be whole anymore.
Yes.
And so it's shifted. But the beauty of, and Scott and I, we have some video we'll share with you where Scott and I like to not, there's the path, kind of the road, and I'll use road with quotes around
Yeah.
it because some of it's
Too
pretty
sweet,
nice and some of it's kind of
I've
rough.
seen it. Yeah.
Yep. And then I'm like, Scott, we should go over there. And he's like, there's no trail over there. And I thought, yeah, I know. And he's like, okay, let's go over there. And we just call it, off the trail. And you're, I think of it as solving a puzzle. And it's my favorite thing, and turns out it's one of Scott's favorite things too. Well, we go out and we purposely try to get stuck, and we try to get over things, and we try to problem solve, and it's not fast motion stuff. It's slow, and it's this, I can't believe we just got up here. Like, this is crazy. And, I mean, I'd love to hear your story about that, Scott, because that was so much fun for me.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott. Bring it in.
Yeah. It's my favorite stuff to do out there, for sure. And Craig and I really get into some wild things. One of the guys who's out, and he's kind of a member and volunteers out there all the time. And he was out with Craig and I the day after the April event. And he had to pull us over some stuff, and we were really having fun. We were kids in a candy store, and we were dropping off these like 9-foot creek beds that were dry at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like Craig gets up there, and I'm like, no way am I doing that. And then Craig goes up first, and he's like, I think I can do that. I was like, I think that's a horrible idea. And the guy with us is like,
hey, Scott, if you think it's a horrible idea, I don't even want
insane asylum. Yeah. And Derek, and then Craig does it. Then I'm like, well, I think if you could do it, I could do it. Then
Right.
Craig's like, well, wait a minute. Let me set up the camera just in case it doesn't work, right? We're doing that. And it's great. And there's a guy from camp, actually.
So many people wouldn't understand this mentality but
it's so fun because you're not only having this physical experience, your like brain is overheating with, if I could get over this log like that. And so you don't go very far, but like you feel like you just ran half a marathon when you're done.
Yeah.
And anyway, my buddy Derek, who lives from that area, and we finished that ride, and he goes, I don't say this often, but I know you guys are from the West Coast and Illinois, but you're officially full-blown rednecks.
There you go. Hey, guys, in accordance with what I was talking about earlier about when the cheering stops and all the accolades, when they start to taper down, I mean, geez, you guys have both had monumental careers. Craig, you got a third in the bronze medal in Seoul in 1988 in the big exhibition event, which was the Big Cheese. I mean, there was just nothing bigger to accomplish than being in those exhibition events. Scotty, same thing for you. You got a silver in Atlanta. You guys reached the mountaintop. And I was reading, do you guys remember David Hall, the tennis player?
Yeah.
Okay, David achieved it all. He won it all. He traveled globally for 15 years of his life. I just got done with his book, Super Beast, and it's fabulous, by the way. He has this one section where everything falls apart. He can no longer call himself, hi, I'm David, the tennis player. The injuries have set in, age has set in, his desire is starting to wane, and ultimately, he goes into a depression because he doesn't know who he is anymore. And finally, when it was all said and done, and he dug himself out, he went to a psychologist, and the psychologist basically said, David, it's your time to give back. That's where you're going to find growth and you're going to find happiness. And he took those words. It wasn't instantaneously, but he dug himself out. I feel like when I'm talking to you guys, I'm experiencing the same thing.
100% for me.
It wasn't premeditated. I would say that we stumbled upon it. Like it just seemed like the right next thing to do. And to me, it looked like a playground I could go play in, and it just turned out to be this thing. How about for you, Scott?
Yeah, I think that post competitive, like retirement, if you will, and you're still like, well, am I really?
I know you have a hard time saying that. I'm
like,
like,
you're in me.
don't say it.
I hear
Don't
that.
You
say
guys
it.
well, and then you know, yeah, I remember things weren't going well at home. There was a sense of I'm working, I'm paying bills and raising, but there was a missing piece that was there. And yeah, yeah, I was in marriage counseling. My wife was about to, like, she was done. And that's actually when these sorts of things, these nature-based experiences came knocking again. And then wanting to, and it was very clear, like, okay, I'm gonna stop thinking about what Scott wants to do for Scott and just start doing more of service, is essentially the best way I can describe it. Service to the community with disability and elsewhere. And it's been, it's great. It's honestly, Bob, it's more fulfilling and feels better to me than I loved the racing, but this sort of work has been just very rewarding. And I would say Bob, our good friend Bob Bardwell up in Minnesota, through his place at Ironwood Springs Christian Ranch was instrumental in sort of laying a foundation for that. And
Yeah, he created the environment for us to like.
And let me jump in, because Craig, I know you've been there a number of times, and so have you, Scott. But Bob passed this past year, and he was a good guy. I mean, make no mistake, Bob was probably not wasn't gonna win many races, but he was always out there. He did his thing, and boy, talk about a guy that gave back. 50 years, since 1976, he's been hosting this camp. Boy, that's really, at the end of the day, this is what it's really all about.
Yeah. Bob.
Tell me, Craig, quickly about Bart and what the relationship was with him, because I could see you guys had a very special bond.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Deeply. And he just became a dear friend and a mentor to me. Now I'm actually taken over his role for about the last decade.
Excellent.
He's transitioned to me being the director of the week-long National Wheelchair Sports Camp. And that's the flagship, camp that they do once a year. And they have lots of other camps, but this is kind of the pinnacle camp. And it was Bob's baby, and his, Jim Martinson and Bob Bardwell started it. Yeah, like 1986, 87, back there. And Rafi told me about it, and I came like the second or third year. And it's, I remember him telling me one time, Bob he's such an incredible lover of people, and he's a tireless encourager. Like, he just has encouragement, like, pulsating out of his being. And I remember him telling me one year, I said something about, being the director. And he goes, well, not so, he calls me Blanche. He goes, not so fast, Blanche. He goes, here's how I see it. And I'm like, okay. He goes, we're riding along in a horse-drawn carriage, which is like, whatever, I don't ever do that. And he goes, I've got the reins. You're watching. He goes, then I'm going to hand you one. And I'm thinking, how are we steering this thing? But he's like, just follow, just work with me. He goes, and then I'm going to watch you. And then eventually I'm going to give you both the reins, and I'm going to sit there for a while, and I'm going to watch you. And then there'll be a day when I'm not in the carriage with you, and you'll be running it. And that's going to be this year. And I just, that's so special,
years,
Craig. I've been thinking about that analogy, and it's like, wow, what what a beautiful man and a beautiful example of how to love people and encourage people and create a playground for people to come play in.
Fantastic. So, guys, you've presented a lot here, and seems like there's some really great opportunities for both of the camps, both Bart's old camp and your camp, Scott. So, how do people find out about this? Craig, you go first. Tell us about Bart's camp.
So, you can go to National Wheelchair Sports Camp or ironwoodsprings.com, and you can click on their physical challenge things, and you'll see National Wheelchair Sports Camp. So ironwoodsprings.com, that's where you can get information about the National Wheelchair Sports Camp.
And Scotty?
Sure. Facebook group is the easiest way right now, and it's Legend Hollow Wilderness Education Center, or just look up my name and I'll point you in the right direction. Maybe we could provide the URL later or something. Yeah.
Hey, boys, in our world, there's a lot of takers, and you guys have been great givers. It's interesting that you've learned so much from your life experience and where you've been, from the mountaintop to the depths and all the difficulties and things in between. Great stuff, guys. I wish you both well moving forward, taking care of Bart's camp, Craig, and hopefully you'll be there too, Scott, and keep moving forward and keep helping out, keep doing good things.
So, Bob, do you think you might be joining us maybe next year at one of these rides?
Is there going to be a pillow top mattress?
There is. We full glam camp. Karen Korb said she was blown away, and she's a diva.
I'm crabby before coffee, but I'll think about it. All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.